Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because after tonight's story, you'll never sleep comfortably when you're home alone again. It was one of those nights that felt too quiet. No cars passing, no wind, not even the usual hum of distant traffic. Just silence. Erin Lewis, 29, had just come home from a long shift at the hospital. Her apartment sat at the end of a narrow cul-de-sac in a small Illinois suburb, the kind of place where nothing ever happened. But that night, something felt off the moment she stepped out of her car. The streetlights buzzed faintly overhead, bathing the snow-dusted road in a pale orange glow. Across from her, her neighbor's house sat dark, except for one thing: the upstairs window, a faint blue light flickering behind the curtain. That was strange. The house had been empty for months. Erin hesitated, staring for a moment too long before shaking it off. Probably a timer light, she told herself. Maybe the realtor forgot to turn it off. She walked up to her porch, fumbling for her keys. The night air was cold and sharp, and her breath fogged as she unlocked the door. Inside, the silence pressed in on her immediately. She turned on the hallway light. Nothing. The bulb popped and went out instantly. "Great," she muttered, setting her bag down. The only light came from the dim glow of her phone. She moved to the living room, kicked off her shoes, and poured herself a glass of wine. The quiet of the house should have been relaxing, but tonight, every sound felt amplified. The ticking clock, the creaking floorboards, the hum of her refrigerator. At 11:27 p.m., her phone buzzed with a notification. Motion detected, front porch. Her heart skipped. She opened the live feed from her doorbell camera. The view was grainy, tinted gray by the night vision. Nothing. Just her porch, her doormat, and the dark road beyond. She waited. Then the motion light flickered, once, twice, and the camera glitched, distorting the image. For a split second, she thought she saw something near the edge of the frame. A figure. But when the picture cleared, it was gone. Erin exhaled shakily and laughed to herself. "It's just the wind," she whispered, though she didn't quite believe it. By midnight, she was in bed, wrapped in her blanket, the house still as ever. Her cat, Milo, slept at her feet, twitching in dreams. But something kept her awake. That light, the one from her neighbor's window. It was still there, dim, bluish, flickering irregularly, like a TV left on in an empty room. She couldn't stop glancing at it through the crack in her curtains. Every time she looked, the flicker seemed slower, heavier, like it was pulsing. Maybe I should go check, she thought. But another part of her whispered, "Don't." Then a sound. A soft tap from downstairs. Erin froze. Milo's ears perked. Another tap. Louder. Not from outside, from inside the house. She held her breath and listened. It came again, a slow, deliberate knock. 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the kitchen. Erin's mouth went dry. She grabbed her phone, turned on the flashlight, and crept toward the door. The air felt heavier with every step, as though the darkness itself was watching her. She peeked around the corner. Nothing. But her back door, the one leading to the small fenced yard, was open. Not wide, just an inch. Enough for the winter air to slip through. Her pulse spiked. She knew she had locked it. She always locked it. She walked closer, her feet silent on the hardwood floor. The door creaked faintly as she pushed it shut. She twisted the lock hard and leaned her forehead against the cold glass. That's when she saw it. A reflection in the glass door behind her. A tall, dark silhouette standing in the doorway to the living room. She spun around so fast the flashlight slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. The beam rolled wildly across the walls, but there was no one there. No sound, no movement, just the faint hum of the refrigerator again. She laughed nervously, trying to calm her shaking hands. "You're tired, Erin. You're imagining things." But when she picked up her flashlight again, she noticed something on the floor near the living room rug. Wet footprints. Bare feet. They led from the middle of the living room, toward the stairs. Her stomach twisted. She stared at the prints, following their trail. Each step was smeared and uneven, like the person had been walking slowly, deliberately. And then, just before the first step, they stopped, vanished. She felt the air shift, cold against the back of her neck. Milo hissed, his fur standing on end. Aaron turned around, whispering, "Hello." Silence. Then, the faint creak of the floorboards from upstairs. Her legs trembled. Every part of her body screamed to leave, to run out the door barefoot if she had to. But she couldn't move. She stood frozen, staring at the dark staircase. The next sound made her heart drop into her stomach. A slow, dragging breath. It was coming from the landing, just out of sight. Erin's phone buzzed again. Her trembling hand lifted it. Another notification, motion detected, upstairs hallway. Her eyes darted to the top of the stairs. A faint blue light flickered there, like the one from her neighbor's window. Her phone screen glitched, the video feed flashing static. When it cleared, she saw something that made her skin crawl. The upstairs hallway camera showed her own bedroom door, open just a crack. And behind it, something moved. Something tall. Something that leaned slightly forward, as if listening. Then the light cut out. Erin dropped her phone and ran for the front door. Her fingers fumbled with the locks, adrenaline making her clumsy. She pulled the door open, stepped onto the porch, and froze. Across the street, her neighbor's house was completely dark now. No light, no flicker, and in the upstairs window, someone was standing. A shadowed figure, perfectly still, watching her. The curtain moved slightly, just enough to reveal a pale face behind the glass. She stumbled backward into her yard, staring up at the window. The figure didn't move. It just stood there, head tilted, like it was waiting for her to notice. And then, the blue light came on again. But this time, it wasn't coming from the house across the street. It was coming from her phone. The live feed was open again, showing her front porch. And in the corner of the frame, a man stood behind her. The next morning, the quiet suburban street looked normal again. The snow on the lawns was fresh, the mail trucks rolled by, and the neighbors went about their routines as if nothing strange had happened. But in the house across from Erin's, the blinds were still drawn. No one had seen her since last night. Her neighbor, Caleb Rowe, noticed first. Caleb lived alone, a quiet 32-year-old freelance photographer who often worked from home. He'd gotten used to the rhythm of the street, the kids playing after school, the hum of leaf blowers, the glow of porch lights turning on around sunset. But that morning, something broke that rhythm. Erin's front door was still slightly open. At first, he thought maybe she'd gone for a walk and forgot to close it. But as he watched from his kitchen window, the wind pushed the door wider. It creaked softly in the cold air. Caleb frowned. That wasn't like her. He stepped out onto his porch, coffee in hand. "Erin," he called across the street. No answer. He hesitated. Maybe it wasn't his business, but something about the stillness made his stomach twist. So he crossed the street. The moment he reached her driveway, he noticed something odd. Faint footprints in the snow leading away from her porch. They stopped abruptly at the middle of the yard. He followed them until they just ended. No continuation, no direction, just gone. The prints behind him, near the porch, looked smeared, like she had run out barefoot. He called her name again, louder this time. Still nothing. Caleb glanced inside. From where he stood, he could see her living room. A tipped-over chair, a shattered wine glass, and a phone lying on the floor with the screen cracked. The TV was on, showing static. He stepped back, heart pounding. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. That night, Caleb couldn't sleep. Every creak in his house made him flinch. Around 11:45 p.m., he sat by his window again, staring across the street. Erin's door was closed now. Maybe one of her friends had come by and shut it, but the light in her upstairs window flickered. Blue. Slow. Unsteady. He frowned, picking up his camera from the table beside him. The telephoto lens brought the window into focus. The room looked empty at first. Just a bed, a dresser, and the faint flicker of blue light from what seemed like a phone screen. Then something moved, a shape shifting in the corner, just out of the light. He adjusted the focus. The shape leaned closer to the window, as if staring directly at him. Caleb froze. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. The shape tilted its head, and then, in one swift motion, the light in the room went out. The window went dark. He put the camera down, breathing hard. Maybe it was his imagination. Maybe someone was checking on the place. But deep down, he knew that wasn't it. At 12:03 a.m., a faint sound came from outside, a rustling near his own porch. He turned off his lamp and peered out the window. Nothing. Then, his front porch light flickered. Once. Twice. Caleb's heart dropped. He reached for his phone, opening the door camera feed. The live footage showed his empty porch. The timestamp read 12:04 and 16 seconds a.m. Then, a shape moved across the frame. Fast, blurry, just at the edge of the camera's view. He rewound the clip, played it again. Still too fast to see clearly, but something about the figure looked familiar. Tall, slender, dressed in dark clothes. The camera glitched. For a single frame, the image froze. Caleb paused it. The frozen frame showed a person standing right in front of the camera. No face, just darkness. He backed away from the screen, whispering, "What the hell?" The live feed resumed, and this time, something new appeared. On his porch railing, faint handprints. Fresh, wet. The next sound came from inside. A soft tap on the glass behind him. He turned. His kitchen window. A shadow moved across it. He couldn't breathe. His hand shook as he reached for the curtain and pulled it aside. Nothing there. But when he looked down, his stomach twisted. There, in the thin layer of frost on the outside of the glass, was a handprint, larger than his. Caleb grabbed his camera again and snapped a photo. The flash illuminated the empty yard. Nothing. He lowered the camera, and as his eyes adjusted to the dark, he realized the faint blue glow wasn't coming from Aaron's house anymore. It was inside his own. He turned slowly toward the living room. His laptop screen, which he'd left asleep, was on. The webcam light blinked faintly. He stepped closer. The screen displayed a paused video feed. At first, he thought it was his own camera view, but the angle was wrong. It wasn't from his laptop. It was from across the street. It was showing him. Caleb's throat went dry. The footage displayed his living room from a distance, like someone had been watching him through his window. He clicked the mouse, trying to exit the screen, but it froze. The cursor lagged. Then, a message popped up in the center of the screen. "Don't turn around." He froze. The room was dead silent, except for the faint hum of his fridge. He didn't move, didn't blink. Then the webcam light turned off. For several seconds, nothing happened. He could hear his own heartbeat. Then came a whisper right behind him. "Smile for the camera." The laptop screen flickered again, showing a single frame, the reflection of Caleb standing at his desk. And behind him, a man in dark clothes, tall, head tilted slightly, a faint blue glow reflecting off his face. The screen cut to black. Caleb didn't scream, didn't run. The next morning, his front door stood wide open. His coffee cup sat on the counter, still warm. And from across the street, in Aaron's dark house, a new light flickered in the upstairs window. This time, two shapes moved behind the curtain. The following night, the entire neighborhood was quiet again. Street lights hummed faintly under a gray sky, and a light drizzle had begun to fall. The houses glowed with the soft blue of televisions, people tucked safely inside their homes, unaware that something was still very wrong on this street. Caleb's house stayed dark. Across the street, Aaron's living room light flickered, slow, uneven, almost like it was breathing. At 1:17 a.m., a delivery driver turned onto the block. He noticed the two houses immediately. No lights except that faint blue glow. He slowed down, thinking maybe he should check. But after a moment, he kept driving. He'd later say he felt like someone was watching him through the trees. That same night, 3 houses away, Mara, a 24-year-old nursing student, couldn't sleep. She'd been up late studying, her desk facing the street. She noticed the flickering light too. At first, she assumed it was Caleb. He sometimes worked late on his computer, but when she zoomed in with her phone camera, she saw the light wasn't from a computer screen. It was brighter, bluer, almost like a phone flashlight pressed against a window from the inside. She frowned. The blue light moved, side to side, as if someone was pacing. Then it vanished. 5 minutes later, it appeared again, this time in Caleb's window. Something wasn't right. Mara set her phone down and grabbed her sweater. Against her better judgment, she stepped outside. The air was freezing. Her breath formed small clouds as she crossed the street. When she reached Caleb's porch, she noticed his door wasn't shut properly, just like Aaron's had been days earlier. "Mr. Rowe," she called softly. "Are you okay?" No answer. She pushed the door open slightly. The smell hit her first, not decay or blood, just something cold and metallic, like damp electronics. The living room was untouched. Coffee cup, open laptop, chair facing the window. Everything exactly as he'd left it, except for the camera on the table. Lens pointed at the upstairs hallway. The small indicator light was blinking red. Recording. Mara's pulse raced. "Caleb," she whispered again. The silence pressed against her like a wall. She picked up the camera. The screen showed a still frame. The hallway, the staircase, faint blue light reflecting off the walls. The timestamp read 12:04 a.m. She hit play. At first, the footage was still. Then the camera shook slightly, like it had been bumped. A shadow moved across the frame. Then another. 2 figures, both facing the stairs, both completely still. They didn't move for nearly 10 seconds. Just stood there, side by side. Then one of them turned its head, not toward the stairs, but toward the camera. Mara dropped the device. It clattered on the floor. The screen glitched, the video skipping forward several seconds, now showing Caleb's living room empty again. Except for one new detail. On the far wall, written in faint blue marker, were 3 words. "Keep the camera." Her hands trembled as she backed away toward the door. She didn't look upstairs. She didn't want to know. But as she stepped outside, she noticed something that made her freeze. Across the street, Aaron's house, pitch black since that first night, now had its lights on again. All of them. And standing in the window were 2 silhouettes. Mara's heart thudded painfully. She blinked, and the lights went out, plunging both houses into darkness. She ran home, locked every door, and sat in her hallway with her phone clutched tight. When morning came, she could still see the faint blue glow behind her curtains, like a light that never truly went off. Over the next few days, neighbors started talking. They said Aaron and Caleb had moved away suddenly. No one had seen a moving truck. No one had heard from them. But one evening, Mara got a text from an unknown number. The message contained a photo. It was taken from across the street, a grainy, slightly blurred image of her house, her bedroom window, her silhouette sitting at her desk. Underneath, a message, "You look great in blue." She dropped the phone, staring at her reflection in the dark window. For a split second, she thought she saw movement, something shifting just behind her shoulder. But when she turned, the room was empty. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, a short video clip, a few seconds long. It showed her sleeping, filmed from outside her window. And in the reflection of the glass, a tall figure in dark clothes stood beside the camera, holding up a small, flickering light. Blue. The video cut off. Mara's entire body went numb. She wanted to run, scream, anything, but something kept her frozen. Her bedroom light flickered once, twice. Then everything went black. Outside, through the drizzle, the faint blue glow appeared again, moving slowly down the quiet street, stopping at each house, one by one. No one on that street ever saw Aaron, Caleb, or Mara again. But even now, if you drive down that road after midnight, locals say you can still see a light, faint and blue, flickering in an upstairs window. And sometimes, if you stop long enough, you'll notice the camera pointed straight at you. Recording. Always recording.